learned very early on about the power of food on our health. I started studying Ayurveda from the age of 18. Back then there were no schools available to me, so I went into engineering school. And then as soon as I finished, I went to Bangalore, India, and that's where I did my studies in yoga therapy and also in Ayurveda. And one of the earliest cases of where I used Ayurveda was one on myself. Through college, I had pretty severe digestive issues. And when I went to the doctor explained, well, you should take here's some drugs, some laxatives to help with the constipation. And even at that time, I was very skeptical about taking medicine, so I refused. I said, well, give me some food, some diet, how I can heal myself. And they said, well, you need fiber, so you need a lot of raw foods and a lot of beans. And so I did that. I took more salads and beans, and my condition actually got much worse. And I started bleeding when going to the bathroom, and coupled with that, the anxieties of school. So I decided I'm going to take the matter into my own hands. I picked up my Ayurvedic books and I healed myself with the Ayurvedic diet, and that was completely opposite to what the Western doctors had told me. One of my other earlier cases was the case of my father, who is here today joining us. And 25 years ago, he was diagnosed with kidney disease due to renal artery failure. So they removed one of his kidneys because it had failed, and he had the one remaining kidney left. But that also started to deteriorate very quickly within a few years. And the doctors told him that that remaining kidney was only functioning at about 25%. And they had told him that within 3 years, you will certainly need to go on to dialysis or have transplant. That was 25 years ago. Both he and I did the research on food, and for 20 years, through diet alone, he remained on that single kidney in perfect health. 22 years, he was on that same kidney. Another patient of mine who came to me many years ago, a gentleman in his 50s, he had a chronic case of very severe eczema. It was all over his face. He was bald, it was all over his scalp. And he said he had tried everything, all kinds of medications. He had been to dermatologists, he had gone to Cleveland Clinic, nothing had helped him. And now his skin got so severe that it was starting to affect his functioning at work. He had a lot of itching and redness. He was embarrassed to go to certain events. When he came back then I didn't have a clinic, so these people would come into my office at work, and when he came in, the secretary who was there said, there's a very scary looking man at the front, and this was him. He had such bad skin disease that he was frightening to see, and I could see that on his look, and his face as well. He had lost all confidence in himself. Through diet alone, at that time I did not have my doctorate, so I couldn't use any medications or Ayurvedic herbs. Just through diet alone, within 4 months, his skin completely cleared up, and it remained that way even till today. I had another case of a woman who had a tremendous amount of anxiety, and she said, I have a normal stress like everyone else has, but why do I have so much fear and anxiety? And she had had 2 panic attacks already in her life. But to pinpoint the cause, she said, I can't tell you that there's any cause for my anxiety. So through the Rogi Pariksha, through looking at her labs, through listening to her pulse, which Ayurvedic physicians do, I could detect a link to both her adrenal glands and her thyroid gland, and that they were sluggish and slow. So what I did was I gave her a diet to support her hormones and to balance her hormones, and within 30 days she felt such a difference in her anxiety. Everything had reduced. Not just for adults, for children as well. A few years ago I had a 9-year-old girl come with very bad asthma. Anytime she would go into the cold, whenever she would exercise a little bit, she would have a wheezing attack and she would have to take an inhalers. And her parents were concerned that at such a young age she was already taking this pump so many times in the week. And of course, no children is going to take bitter Ayurvedic herbs. So even with her, just through diet, within 60 days, she was completely off all her medications. So this is what I want to start off by telling you is the power that food has on our bodies. But nowadays, there's so many different understandings about food, all kinds of diets. You know, some people promote veganism, some people say eat raw food, some people say no, protein is the way to go. Cut out all the carbs, so there's a tremendous amount of confusion. And this is what we're going to clear up in the seminar today.